Chicago and the Philippines. A comprehensive review of the week's special community events, featuring many exciting personalities, handled by the most professional Chicago Philippine Reports TV staff.
Starting December 1, COVID-19 vaccinations will be made mandatory for all on-site workers who are eligible to get inoculated against the virus in areas with sufficient vaccine supplies. The country's anti-COVID task force approved the mandate as part of efforts to boost the country's vaccination numbers. But Malacanang was quick to clarify that non-vaccination against COVID-19 should not be a ground to terminate an employee.
Sa mga eligible employees na hindi bakunado, maaaring hindi sila matanggal sa trabaho dahil lamang sa rason na hindi sila bakunado. Pero kinakailangan nilang mag-undergo ng regular RT-PCR testing or antigen test at their own expense.
The IATF has also required the full vaccination of all eligible workers in public transportation services as a condition to continue their operations.
Isa pang measure ay hindi pagmarka ng absent sa lahat ng workers na mababakunahan sa oras ng trabaho basta magpakita lamang ng proof ng confirmed vaccination schedule.
The labor group Trade Union Congress of the Philippines supports the mandatory vaccination of on-site workers.
Looking forward to it. We are looking forward to a vaccination of a greater number of workers to help our economy recover immediately.
But the group says government should focus on boosting vaccine supply instead of punishing the unvaccinated.
Giving workers the incentives to vaccinate, to encourage them, rather than to penalize or to coerce or scare them to vaccinate. No, we are also asking the government to provide more access for the workers, because they are saying that the country has now sufficient number of vaccines. But when we look at the local government units, the workers, the people do not have the access to these vaccines.
Meanwhile, the IATF is enjoining government agencies and local government units to provide incentives for vaccination, such as giving priority to fully vaccinated individuals in accessing government services and programs. But Roque says this does not apply to frontline and emergency services, which shall continue to render assistance to all persons, regardless of vaccination status. For public and private establishments, they may require proof of vaccination from their customers or patrons and turn away individuals who remain unvaccinated even if they are eligible for vaccination. But for those who are not eligible to get vaccines, Roque says they can only present 2 documents to prove why they cannot get inoculated against COVID-19, a medical clearance or their birth certificate.
Get ready for the ultimate in fresh produce, barbecue, seafood, sushi, and more. Meals made easy. Kimchi with wow. Our dishes make you a star. H-Mart.
This is the future. Forget what you know about currency, commerce, investment. The age of Bitcoin is upon us. And now anyone, anywhere can turn cash into crypto with a CoinFlip ATM. Booyah.
With low fees and 24/7 support, CoinFlip makes crypto so flippin' easy. Go to coinflip.tech to find an ATM near you.
ViaTimes, vital news, vibrant views for the Filipino Asian communities in Chicago. ViaTimes for your most interesting and exciting reading and your party coverages. ViaTime has very interesting columnists. You name it, ViaTimes has it. Law, Filipino news, dentistry, immigration, humor, serious opinions, health, beauty, mysticism, Bata Corner, showbiz, and intelligently written editorials. Call ViaTimes at 773-866-0811.
Magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat and welcome to Veronica's segment of the show. Today, I have a very exciting guest from New Hampshire, and his name is Italian. He's really an Italian guy, origin, and his name is Phil Mastroianni. Did I say it right, Phil?
Close enough, and most people in my family don't even say it the same way every time. So that was just fine, Veronica.
Okay, Phil. Phil is the CEO of this exciting company. It's fairly new, and it's called Fabrizia Baking Company. And I'm telling you, their product is really, really very good because I had a sample of it before the interview. All right, Phil, welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for the editorial there on the baked goods. We appreciate it.
Okay, yeah. You know, it seems that the secret of your product is lemon.
Yes.
Lemon, and it tastes lemony. Why lemon?
Well, so my brother Nick and I started our company, Fabrizia Spirits, 12 years ago with the idea of making a homemade limoncello with all natural ingredients. This is our cream version. And we've been doing that for 12 years on the East Coast. We're hoping to get to Chicago soon. Michigan and Ohio are as far west. But out here on the East Coast in Boston, New York, New England, we make an all-natural limoncello. And to make limoncello, you use a lot of lemons. We bring ours in from Sicily. So we thought with COVID last year, how could we, with many restaurants did not get to use as much limoncello as they used to. So we said, well, what else could we do with the lemons? And we decided to start a lemon bakery with all those lemons.
All right. With the lemon secret for your recipe, I wonder why of all the ingredients out there, why lemon? What is in lemon that you chose and makes your product so exciting and so good?
Well, we decided, you know, as I said, we're all about lemons at Fabrizia Spirits, and many people, you know, lemons are included in a variety of baked goods, and some bakeries will have a lemon cookie or a lemon, a lemon cake. We decided that our bakery will only have lemon products because we're a limoncello company, and we also use our limoncello liqueur in the baked goods. So that has a lemony flavor. We add additional lemon juice, lemon zest, and Veronica, as you saw, you don't need too much more. And lemons have a wonderful history throughout Asia, throughout the Mediterranean. And it's really such a wonderful ingredient. It has so many different benefits, the essential oils, the citrus, it has good things for the health. So it's an enjoyable ingredient to work with.
Whose idea was that? Was it your idea?
You're talking to him. It was mine. Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, and I last year just said, well, what else could we do with these lemons and with our limoncello? And we've been telling people to bake with our limoncello ever since we started making it. You can make scallops limoncello, you can make chicken with limoncello, and you can make cakes with limoncello. And I said, why don't we start a bakery and use the limoncello? It was last summer that we had the idea, and we got up and running in time for the holidays. So around November of last year, we baked our first cookie. Yeah, right here.
Yes, love it. The bottle of spirits that you just showed also the main ingredient is lemon, right?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Wow, that's so exciting. And
well, it makes it easy because we don't have to worry about sourcing, you know, pears and apples and grapes and everything else. We basically buy lemons, and we use the lemons to make the spirits. We use the lemons to make the baked goods. Not literally one drop goes to waste. After we've zested them, we juice them, and we actually have a agricultural company pick up the squeezed lemons that they then recycle into some type of livestock food, so or fertilizer or something. So nothing goes to waste, and everything is recycled.
were you guided by the saying, if life gives you a lemon, so you make a lemonade?
Yes, that's right. In our case, we made limoncello. What was your favorite of the items, Veronica? I know we sent you our cookies, our limoncello cookies, maybe the limoncello cake, the limoncello blondies, or the biscotti. What one did you like the best?
Wow. And okay, we salute to the lemons that you've been using in your products. But where do you get the lemons here in the US?
Well, when we started the company, we purchased them in California, where they do grow a lot of lemons. But then about 4 years ago, so 8 years into our business, we realized we were buying enough lemons that we could go back to Italy and purchase the lemons from Italy. So all of our lemons come from southern Italy on the island of Sicily. And we import them from a family called the Villari family. And we've been doing that for 4 years now, direct from the grower.
So is Italy producing better lemons than California?
Well, it depends who you ask. And if you ask someone from California, they might give you a different answer. However, as someone that's a little independent, I can say that the juice of the lemons is very consistent between the two. However, the zest of the lemon is certainly more ideal with the Italian Sicilian lemons. There's more pepperiness to them. There appears to be more essential oils. And it really comes down to the genetic of the lemon. And in California, they use a Eureka Lisbon lemon, which is a very smooth surfaced lemon. And the Italian lemons are often a little rougher on the exterior. It's a different type of breed, and they do make a little better limoncello de zest. But the juice is very consistent between the two.
You are not in Chicago yet, so we give people, our audience cannot get the Fabrizia lemon pies, cookies anywhere.
You don't need to worry about that because we're an online bakery. We produce everything here in New Hampshire with our limoncello, but we ship it out across the entire USA, even Alaska and Hawaii. So we can definitely get it to you all in Chicago at the Fabrizia lemonbakingco.com. And all orders ship out within 3 days of being received. And it only takes 2 days to get to you in Chicago via FedEx. So it'll arrive fresh and ready to enjoy. I recommend you order on Monday. You'll get it shipped out by Wednesday or Thursday and have it for the weekend.
All right, very good. Any competitors?
Not in the lemon baking industry that I'm aware of, but hopefully, we no, the answer would be this. I don't know anyone else that only makes lemon baked goods. That would just be us.
I shared it with my granddaughter, and she really loves it, and she's a picky eater.
Great. Well, thank you. Glad you guys liked it. And hey, if you can make her happy, it sounds, then you're off to in good order.
Okay.
Well, thanks so much for having me on today, Veronica.
Huh?
Thank you so much for having me on today.
Oh, yeah, but one last question. Did your business get affected by COVID-19?
Oh, yes, it certainly did.
You were able to fight it.
Yes, so our business was very much affected by COVID-19. Early on, many of our distributors, we didn't have the baking company at the time. We only had the spirits company because we started the bakery last fall when COVID had already started. But when COVID first happened, many of our distributors canceled orders for our limoncello because they knew restaurants were going to close and wouldn't need to order it anymore. And about half of our customers are restaurants. So when that happened, that was a very challenging time. But the way that the ball bounced, we were very, very fortunate, and we got blessed that we were able to produce hand sanitizer for first responders, for governments, for hospitals, and then eventually for convenience stores and supermarkets for everyday people like you and I. And we stayed busy with that for a few months. And then the world didn't end, and our spirits were needed. So we were able to get through it. So it was a stressful time for sure. But thankfully, we were able to repurpose our facility to make hand sanitizer. And that's how we got through it.
All right, very good. Congratulations. And
Thank
I
you.
salute you. You really know how to run your company. And I wish you good luck. And thank you for gracing our show. How do you say thank you in Italian?
Grazie.
Grazie.
Yes. And I'd like to thank you, Veronica, for sharing us with you. We'd like to thank you for saying, how do you say it in Filipino?
Maraming salamat.
Parami
Salamat.
salamat. Well,
Yes.
I'd like to say parami salamat to you and your audience for hearing an Italian come on the show. And we look forward to staying in touch. Thank you so much.
Our pleasure, Phil.
Have a nice rest of the day.
Mr.
Bye-bye.
Phil Mastroianni. Bye-bye.
Bye. Take care, Veronica. Thanks again.
Thank you for watching.
Nice to meet you.
Bye.
Yan! Dito na! Perfect!
Magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat and welcome to Veronica's segment of the show. Today I have a very young, good-looking Asian actor, Broadway actor as a matter of fact, and his name is David Rhee, R-H-E-E. Welcome to our show, David.
Thank you.
And you're also from Chicago.
I am from Chicago, yes.
Nice to know. And David is a recipient of a very prestigious award for $30,000. Congratulations, David.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
And that's an award given by 3 Arts. Okay, and David will be talking about that. Congratulations. And also, he is the founder of a theater called Token Theater.
That's right.
Right? Okay, we'll talk about that too. Okay, welcome to our show, David. And first thing, can you talk to us about the 3 Arts, how you won the $30,000 award?
That's a great question because I myself am just as shocked as anyone else that I received it, to be honest with you. I was first nominated by someone in the arts community. That person is unknown to me. And basically after you're nominated, they ask for specific things, specific criteria, whether it's examples of your work or videos or scripts. So I just sent them what, the stuff that I've been working on. And lo and behold, one day I was walking to ballet class actually. And right before I got into ballet class, I got a call from 3 Arts and they said, congratulations, you are a recipient of the 2021 3 Arts Award. I'll be honest with you, I was just as shocked as anyone else because if you look at the people on the roster of the ones who won the award, they're incredibly accomplished people. So it was, number one, it was a shock. And number two, it was really an honor to be considered for this. So yeah, that's really what happened.
Wow, that's really quite a hefty award too. And well, you as an actor, you have acted on Broadway too. And what other theaters have you been acting on?
I've worked in theaters all across the country. I've worked in theaters in Boston, here in Chicago. I've worked for The Goodman. I've worked for Looking Glass. I've worked for Steppenwolf, Timeline, Silk Road, etc., etc. So I've pretty much worked at theaters all across the country.
Great. Where are you going to use the money or the award that you receive from 3 Arts?
As you mentioned, I am the artistic director for Token Theater. So I think the majority of it is going to go to Token Theater, and I'm going to use it to basically fund and help fund our theater company. One of the productions we're dreaming of doing is a play called Zac Efron. And it is a play basically about two Asian people falling in love. My friends and I were talking about the fact that if you look at where Asians or Asian Americans and how they're represented in theater, movies, they're always represented in these extreme circumstances, right? You have, for example, Miss Saigon or The King and I, or there's this something like someone immigrates to America and the hardships that they go through. And stories like that have to be told. But the stories that aren't told about us are just people falling in love, people going to work, you know what I mean? It just showing us as three-dimensional people, frankly. So one of the plays that we started writing is a play called Zac Efron. And really it's just a play about two people looking and falling in love. And I'm hoping to use a lot of the funds to produce that play.
Something like Rich Crazy Asian.
Oh, yeah, Crazy Rich Asians. I mean, those type of narratives about us are so new, you know, because if you really think about what's been happening since Asians first immigrated to America, our stories have been told about us. What I mean by that is a narrative has been placed on us. We're not allowed to tell our stories, right? You probably know this. The first Asians that immigrated to America were Filipinos. When they came to America, they were actually put on display at the World's Fair here in Chicago, actually. And they weren't set up and they weren't portrayed, you know, in Filipino glory. They put all these barbaric costumes on them to show Filipinos and Asians as barbarians. And that was the first impressions Americans got of Asians. And then you had, for example, you had the Chinese railroad workers when they came to America. All of a sudden, white people were so scared that the Chinese were going to, that the Chinese men were going to marry white women, that the white men started passing this propaganda, saying things like, hey, Chinese people, they're ugly, they take drugs, they have small penises, you know what I mean? And ever since we first came here, the story of who we are has been placed on us. This is an opportunity with the 3 Arts Grant, for me at least, to say, no, those stories that have been told about us, they're not from us. So I'm excited to use the grant to say, hey, here's who we are, here's our narrative, and you know, this is really what it means to be American. So that's where I'm hoping to use the grant.
I'm glad to hear that you're so much aware of the plight of the Asians here in America. Most of all, when you mentioned the Filipinos. Okay, and as an actor, I saw in your write-up that you want to be a playwright. Is that so? Instead of being an actor, you want to be a playwright?
Well, I don't think they need to be separated. I got my MFA in playwriting from New York University at Tisch. And but the reason I did that, to be honest with you, yeah, I've been on Broadway, but at the same time, the roles for people like us are very limited. All of a sudden, you play the best friend, you play the sidekick, you play the comedic character, and we're never portrayed in three-dimensional lights. We're always portrayed as stereotypes. And like I mentioned before, we're sort of portrayed in a way that white people view us, because our stories are always told through the lens of the majority culture. So it became frustrating after a while. Like, I can do a Chinese accent for you, I can do a Japanese accent for you, and I can do a Korean accent for you, because I had to learn those for certain roles that I took. And you know, I played the narrator in Pacific Overtures, a musical by Stephen Sondheim, and it's really about the the modernization of Japan. And I'm doing, and it's a wonderful show. Don't get me wrong. It's a beautiful musical. But the whole time I was doing it, all I thought was, this isn't my story. This isn't who I am. This isn't who we are, really. And after a while, I thought, where are our stories? Where are our plays? And to be honest with you, I came to the realization that they haven't been written. There are certain, don't get me wrong, there are certain playwrights, authors of novels, et cetera, that are telling our stories, but not in the amount that other people are being told their stories. So I got so frustrated that after a while, I wanted to leave the business. And a friend of mine, who is Filipino, said to me, his name is Dominic Patawarin, and Dom said to me, listen, you've got to stop complaining about this. This is your business. And you have three options. Either shut up and realize that those roles that are out there are the roles that you're going to do, leave the business, or write your own material. And at that time, you know, for example, someone like Ben Affleck, he was writing movie scripts for himself because no one was hiring him. And he won an Academy Award for it, you know, as a director. Leonardo DiCaprio, he was having people write stuff for him, you know, and I was just like, listen, if they can do it, why can't we do it? Why are they telling their stories, but we're not ultimately? So I took a playwriting class, and I went to New York to take the playwriting class, and I fell in love with it. And then, so I applied to New York University, and I got accepted. And basically, I decided, all right, in order to do this, I can't just be an actor. I also have to write our own stories. I mean, look, and then if you think about it, Hamilton, that's exactly how Lin-Manuel created roles for himself. If you look at interviews with him, he was not being hired. He had written a play, a musical called In the Heights. It won the Tony Award. He went out to Hollywood. He could not get roles for himself. He's a Tony Award winning author and actor, and he could not get a job because he is of Hispanic descent. But so then he just said, you know what, forget it. I'm going to write my own stuff. He comes out with Hamilton, and people are literally paying $25,000 a ticket to go see this show, you know? And he's, wow. Yeah. Oh, the very last week, I actually got to attend the original Broadway cast the week that the original Broadway cast was performing. And because it was the last week, people were paying upwards of $15,000 to $25,000 for these. Yeah. So it's my point is saying that I'm not leaving one thing for another. It's, as a minority, I have to be able to do all these things in order to tell our stories.
You wear different hats.
Yeah.
Yes.
Leslie, I don't know if you know who Leslie Uggins is. She's a famous Broadway actor. She is the Black woman in a movie called, I forgot the name. Oh my goodness, it's a very famous movie too. Deadpool. And she plays a blind woman in it. We were doing a show together, and she said to me, and she said, as minorities, every time we go on stage, there's a sign over our head, and we're making a political statement. And I looked at her and I said, Leslie, all I want to do is act. And she goes, honey, we all do, but they won't let us. So you have to, what she was saying is, you have to do more than just act, because no one's going to let you just act. You have to write your own stuff, produce your own stuff. You have to wear a lot of different hats, because our stories aren't being told. And unless we tell our stories, no one's going to be interested in hearing these stories. So that's a really long-winded way of how I want to use it.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, let's talk about the talking theater.
Yeah.
Why did you found this theater? And what is the purpose and mission?
That's great. That's a great question. So there was a point when I was just acting where, like I said, Asians were getting very minor type of roles, stereotypical type of roles. And I sat down and had a meal with two separate artistic directors of major theaters here in America. And they said to me, and I kid you not, "We know you're here. We don't know what to do with you." And I said to them, I said, "Is it because I'm Asian?" And they said, "Yes." I mean, you know, if they told me you're a bad actor, I can work on becoming a good actor. If they tell me you're a bad dancer, I could work on becoming a good dancer. Excuse me. But they're telling me we can't use you because of this. It's something you can't change. I didn't know what to do with that information. You know, one of them even went so far as saying, "Good luck in this business. How many Asians actually make it in this business?" You know. So I got really frustrated, and that's why, again, like I said before, I got my MFA in playwriting. But then Hamilton happened, and it changed the way we see theater, movies, entertainment, et cetera. And all of a sudden, those theaters that didn't know what to do with me because I was Asian, they knew what to do with me. All of a sudden, I was getting calls, and we were a thing, you know? And I thought about this for a long time because I thought about how before Hamilton, these people were saying, "We don't know what to do with you." And then after Hamilton happened, all of a sudden it was like, "We need minorities, we need minorities." You know what I mean? We became trendy. And all I thought was, what happens when we're no longer in power? What happens when we're no longer popular? What happens when we're no longer a thing? When the Hamilton phenomenon dies down? The people in power are still making the choices, and they're still declaring what narratives are worth telling. So my friend and I, Eric Kaiko, who got his MA in theater management from Columbia out in New York, from Columbia University, we got down together and we said, let's start a theater company where we have the power, where we get to choose the stories that are being told, where we get to choose the narratives that are being portrayed about us, where we get to choose who we are instead of someone saying, "No, this is who you are." So literally our mission statement is to change the narrative of what is an American. And that is the bottom line, and that's the mission for what we do. Because this narrative of who we are has been placed on us, our mission is to break that narrative and retell the story of what an American is from the vantage point of Asian Americans.
Interesting. Is there a physical building of talking theater here in Chicago?
There's not a physical building right now. The reason for that is especially it's the pandemic. A lot of the stuff for us was put on hold because of the pandemic. But the beauty of Zoom, like what we're doing right now, we were able to actually do shows on Zoom during the pandemic, which was wonderful. It's not the same thing as live theater in any way, shape, or form, but we were able to still tell our stories using Zoom. So we don't have a physical building right now, but if anything, right now, what we'll be doing, hopefully, is rent space until we can actually get to the point of getting a building.
Very good, David. We're running out of time. What are your forthcoming projects?
I have been commissioned by Timeline Theater Company, and I am writing a play. I'm part of their playwrights collective, so I'm part of their group of playwrights right now. And we started in 2020, and we met, and then literally the pandemic hit. We met on February, pandemic, and we were supposed to meet once a month, so we did everything on Zoom. And for the past year and a half, I've been writing a play called The Feet of God. and they're going to do a public reading of that at the theater on Belmont in December. And you can find out all the information on Timeline's website. But it's basically a play about Asians being beaten up because we're being blamed for the pandemic. And then what we should do about it. Do we just keep, do we do what we've been doing all along? We just say yes, we keep quiet, or do we finally say enough is enough? This isn't okay. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Wow, congratulations and best wishes.
Thank you.
All your projects and as an awardee of $30,000 from 3 Arts, what can you say? You're so blessed. Okay, David, you're so blessed.
I am. Yeah.
I thank you for gracing our show today. And maraming salamat. Thank you very much in Korean.
Oh, 감사합니다.
Or how do you say it?
It's 감사합니다.
Okay, it sounds familiar, but I don't think I can say it.
It's okay.
Okay. Thank you, and I wish you good luck once again. Bye, David.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Okay. Bye-bye.
We would like to welcome all of you to Baladna Jewelry. We have a very big selection of 21 karat gold jewelry imported from the Middle East, from Dubai, Saudi, and Bahrain. And we have a very big selection of diamond. We offer free financing for 6 months, and we have a layaway system which you can leave your stuff for 3 months. We repair gold and we buy old gold. Welcome to Baladna Jewelry.
Salamat po.
Good afternoon. This is Brigitte, Carino, Cueter bringing you this week's local news from our community. Several Chicago area youth football teams are headed to national tournaments to represent their city at the national level. The teams started GoFundMes to cover travel costs and uniform expenses for the tournaments. The fundraisers have received an outpouring of support from the community as each team looks to bring home a title. This fundraiser was created by Coach Roosevelt Martin, who wrote, "We are in an inner-city youth football program with the opportunity to play nationally in Missouri in about 2 weeks. Several youths are unable to cover the cost to play this year. We are asking for any donations for these boys to have the opportunity to go and play and bring home a trophy as well as exposure, which can jumpstart a host of great opportunities for these young men's future. It is also our goal to raise enough money to try and recondition or purchase 100 helmets as well as so that we can continue to keep our student athletes safe from concussions. For fear of helmets being rejected once inspected, we would rather purchase new helmets for the 2021 season. Our program has been a huge impact and safe haven for our youth on the south side of Chicago since 1992. National Fast Food Day is November 16th, but where can you have it your way when you celebrate? LawnStarter ranked 2022's best cities for fast food lovers. They compared nearly 200 of the biggest U.S. cities based on access to fast food restaurants and food delivery services. We also weighed the quality of the food based on consumer ratings and Thrillist's Fasties Awards. Here are Chicago's ranks for some key metrics. They were first in number of food delivery services, 5th in number of Fasties Award-winning fast food locations, and 17th in median consumer rating for fast food establishments. SSA is excited to share with the public their new redesigned Social Security statement, making it easier to find the information you need. Your unique statement gives estimates of future Social Security benefits that you and your family may receive each month, along with a basic overview of the Social Security program. It also provides a record of your earnings history and other valuable information. So who will get a statement? You will get a statement if you are an adult who does not receive benefits. Where to access your statement? Well, everyone is encouraged to access their new statement by using their personal My Social Security account at www.ssa.gov/myaccount. In honor of Veterans Day, the Cook County Assessor's Office would like to express gratitude to those who have served our nation. In administering property tax saving exemptions for over 8,500 veteran families this year, we hope to honor their sacrifices. The Assessor's Office administers both the veterans with disabilities and the returning veterans exemptions, which can reduce the property tax bills of veterans. The Veterans with Disabilities exemption is for veterans with a service-connected disability as certified by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. The exemption reduces the Equalized Assessed Value, EAV, on the primary residence of a veteran with a disability, very likely lowering the tax bill. The amounts of those EAV deductions depend on the percentage of disability. Veterans are required to apply annually. The returning veterans exemption is for veterans returning from active duty in armed conflict, are eligible to receive $5,000 reduction in the equalized assessed value of their property only for each taxable year in which they return. Veterans are required to apply annually. Here's a new report by Inspection Support Network looking at the U.S. locations with the most over-leveraged homeowners, or those with the highest mortgage debt-to-income ratios. Throughout 2021, the year-over-year increase in prices for single-family housing has exceeded 10%. This rapid growth could suggest that homes are becoming overvalued, with homeowners paying more than their asset is worth. Mortgage debt-to-income ratio is one measure that can be used to evaluate whether homeowners in a particular area are over-leveraged. Researchers ranked metros according to each one's mortgage debt-to-income ratio. For the purpose of this analysis, the ratio is calculated as the median total outstanding mortgage debt divided by the median household income for each metro. The mortgage debt-to-income ratio in the Chicago metro area is 224%, compared to 228% at the national level. Still, out of the 25 large U.S. metros included in the analysis, Chicago has the 15th most over-leveraged homeowners. That's all for today. Thank you for watching our news this week. This is Brigitte. See you next time.
Hi again, and welcome back. I'm Dr. C with the Chicago Eye Institute. In this segment, I wanted to discuss with you something that we are all affected by, and these are floaters. Every now and then, you may feel like something is traveling across your vision. And no, it's not a fly, but it actually is something going on inside your eye. Now, what floaters are is simply a change in the fluid in the back of the eye. The vitreous gel is a gel that lives in the space of the back of the eye. That gel usually is nice and clear, very similar to this Purell. Now, with time, with age, unfortunately, that gel definitely starts to change. And it's hard to picture, but you get these tiny bubbles. And that's exactly what's going on here in the back of the eye. Now, more specifically, it's due to a decrease or an increase in certain proteins in the back of the eye, which causes that fluid to change. And yes, that does occur typically with age. However, other factors that causes patients to develop floaters: nearsightedness and also trauma. Now, despite all of this, one can still develop floaters, and it is very common for that to occur. So that if you do see some black spots in your periphery or even flashes of light, not to be too alarmed. Now, sometimes, however, as that gel changes, it does liquefy and it tugs and pulls on the back of the eye. It is that tugging and pulling on the retina that sends a signal through the nerve to the brain, which can cause a flash of light. Very similar to if you rub your eye pretty hard, you may see some flashes of light. Similarly, the fluid changing in the back of the eye can cause the same effect. Now again, usually those flashes and floater or two is normal. However, sometimes as that gel separates from the back of the eye, which naturally does occur, that gel may cause a hole or tear in the back of the eye, which is why it's important that if you do suffer from hundreds of floaters, hundreds of flashes of light, or worse yet, a black curtain coming down over your eye, it's important that you do come in for an evaluation. Most of the time, however, these floaters are benign and don't need to be treated. But the only way to find out is if you come in for your eye exam. So feel free to visit me or any one of my colleagues here at the Chicago Eye Institute at 5086 North Elston Avenue. Phone number is 773-282-2000. We'll welcome you in and we'll see you then. Thanks. Bye-bye.
It's more fun in the Philippines.
Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. This is Melody Dizon, your Health Matters host. How are you guys? I've missed you. I haven't had a recording in a while just because life got crazy. But here I am back again, so I hope you guys are all in the pink of health. So today we will be talking about booster shots for COVID. So if you know, people nowadays are talking about, are they going to have the third booster shot or are they going to not have it? So, but before I go any further, I wanted to explore about antibody testing or antibody result before getting the third one. Because I was really thinking about this, you know, if you don't really need it, why get one if you have the immunity to it? So, but this is what the doctors are advising to vaccinated people and wondering whether their shot was held up, it's still there, you know, the immunity, or was it just curiosity from maybe last month's cold? Was that a cold or was it a virus or whatnot? Then who should get the antibody testing then for COVID-19? Well, more than, where are we now? A year and a half, I guess, into the COVID-19 pandemic with 3 vaccines available in the US. Seems like everyone knows or has heard at least someone who has been vaccinated and diagnosed with the virus thereafter. So it should come as no surprise that many people are wondering whether their shot is still doing its job. So enter the SARS-2 antibody blood test that can detect the infection-fighting proteins that linger after your immune system beats COVID-19 or revs up in the what they call a response to the vaccination. But can these tests actually gauge whether you have COVID-19 immunity? That's the question. Well, it turns out that antibody tests are definitely not recommended to determine whether you're protected from COVID-19, according to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. And experts agree and don't see the great value in these commercial tests prescribed for other reasons as well. Also known as serology tests, you know, antibody tests which requires a doctor's prescription are blood tests that detects the presence of SARS-CoV-2 antibodies in the bloodstream. As we all know, antibodies are protein molecules produced by the immune system when your body fights off a pathogen or undergoes vaccination to help defend your body from the said pathogen the next time you're exposed to it, and can also help reduce the severity of symptoms in the case of reinfection. Antibody tests are typically used to screen for evidence of past infection or preparedness to fight off a specific virus. that would then tell us the varying degrees of accuracy. So yeah, that was lingering in my mind. So if people had the antibody test, do they really still need it if they came up positive? The third vaccination, I mean. So question is, who then should get the antibody test to see if you've had COVID-19? Well, in theory, testing positive or for spike protein antibodies should mean that your vaccine is working, and a positive antibody test should confirm that you've had the COVID-19. But there's a big but. The jury is out on how many antibodies you need for immunity and how long that immunity might last, according to the FDA. So what's more is that we don't know whether antibodies protect against the various COVID-19 strains in circulation. So they're saying there's not really much value in testing for antibodies. The majority of infectious disease providers agree that one should never do a test unless one knows what they're going to do with it if you have a positive or a negative result. In the case of antibody testing, the results cannot be interpreted, which is why they do not recommend it at all. So if there's one thing literally every expert and governing body agrees on, it's that antibody presence should not take the place of vaccination or boosters among those who are eligible. Not only that it takes 2 to 3 weeks after infection to detect the virus antibodies, these tests then are not your best bet for diagnosing COVID-19 on the spot, according to CDC. And that's not the only reason why you shouldn't rely on an antibody test to tell whether you have had COVID-19, that the blood tests are prone to false negatives among those who have not had any antibodies yet false positives among those who've been exposed to the coronavirus besides COVID-19. Yeah, because there's a lot of coronaviruses out there. So antibody testing is not currently recommended to assess for immunity for COVID-19 following vaccination, which notes that these diagnostic tools have variable sensitivity, specificity, positivity, and negativity predictive values. So in other words, they just don't tell you much what you have. It's not especially accurate in assessing protection from COVID-19. So it should go without saying that you shouldn't get an antibody test to assess your need to get the second shot or third shot for your vaccine series. Just get them, because these tests don't definitely tell you if you've had, you could have, you could get, or you could spread COVID-19. And because a positive test could give you a false sense of security. So experts generally recommend against COVID-19 tests in all circumstances outside of research laboratories. However, if your healthcare provider wants to know whether you've been infected with COVID-19, it may be helpful, but take the results with a grain of salt and without plans on acting on them, because antibody positive is not a substitute for vaccination. That's right. So now you know, guys, as well, that there is now talks about the mixing and matching the COVID boosters. You can jump from one booster to the other booster. So question is, which one should you get? Well, if you've been fully vaccinated against COVID-19, is it okay to switch to different manufacturer's product? FDA says it's yes, you can certainly do that. Under a newly announced mix and match strategy, people who got Pfizer, Moderna, and J&J vaccine may switch to another brand's booster. So after reviewing available data, FDA said that knowing the potential benefits of using a single mix and match or heterologous booster dose outweigh the known and potential risks in people eligible for boosters. So mixing vaccines has a couple of advantages. From a practical standpoint, it says the ability to switch from one manufacturer's vaccine to another gives Americans more flexibility when they go to the doctor's office or pharmacy for a booster shot. A recent study examined real-world data from mid-March through mid-August on COVID vaccine effectiveness. The two-dose Moderna and Pfizer remains saying they're getting up to 93% and 80% effective against COVID hospitalization, and with the J&J, a level of protection at 71%. And again, these are preliminary findings indicating that mixing and matching regardless of the combination of vaccines and boosters, increase antibody levels. So of particular note though, were the results of J&J vaccine recipients switching to a Pfizer booster resulted in a 35-fold increase in antibodies. But, or as well as the Moderna, when they've had that switching booster shots, people got a 76-fold rise in their antibodies. But the study has limitations, including small size, short follow-up period, and which may really not capture the rare side effects. So which booster should you use? Well, you should get whatever booster you can get, basically, because rest assured that any vaccination that's out there is highly protective against severe disease and hospitalization. So anyway, folks, I hope I've given you an insight to what's on the news, to what's been spread around, what they're talking about, and could help you decide and what you're gonna do with your situation. I do respect people for maybe not wanting to have the shot for whatever personal, religious, or just any cultural reasoning that they may have, because we're all different. But for those people who are still skeptic, there's really nothing I could do about that, basically. So it is your own choice, but let's just make our choices what's best for everybody. So, and that means for you. So I give you with that decision. So again, folks, this is Melody Dizon, your Health Matters host. I will see you again next week. Thank you so much.